Hello and welcome to the live stream. So the other day, I kind of get sidetracked sometimes. I was meaning to get to a lot of what I wanted to say and then got sidetracked because the comments came in. I'm not blaming the commenters. I love the commenters. I love everyone who comes in and listens to me. This is the first time in years I've actually had a voice. So, because for years, the social media was controlled by the communists, the Nazis, the real Nazis. They controlled social media, and a lot of victims, we tried many years telling our story, and then the next thing you know, our channels get taken down and stuff. So this is kind of new. I'm so used to, and even on X and Twitter, all these sites, they're controlled by the evil people. They're controlled by the bad guys, and the bad guys for years have been taking down the victims, the real victim stories. So, uh, it's this is I'm about to cry because like if you don't if people only knew what I've been through for years from these evil people, these evil nut jobs, real nut jobs. So let's start from the top. When I was growing up, I had a crazy liberal mother who wanted me to wear a dress. She wouldn't scream at me over it, but then she'd scream at me over other things. And she was like so sociopathic that she even tried to like coerce me into trying to say it was my idea. Like, for example, she came to me one time and she said, "Oh, why don't you wear this dress?" I'm like, "No, I'm a boy. I'm not wearing a dress." And then I told her, I said, I'll tell my father that you tried putting a dress on me if you keep trying to put a dress on me. And then she said, "Oh, okay, no, no, don't need to tell your father. I'm not trying to do anything, not trying to do nothing." So then I sure enough, I did tell my father that my mother, and they're divorced. My father and my mother were divorced because my father realized what a crazy nut job my mother is. My father and my mother divorced when I was 6 years old because my father couldn't handle my mother no more. I told my father that my mother tried to get me to wear a dress, and she denied it. She denied it, right? She denied it. My father went to her and said, "Is that true? Did you try putting a dress on, you know?" And my father was a little bit angry, but he's never like angry. And he's never angry to the point where he's like throwing stuff. But anyways, he was a bit annoyed. And my mother denied it. And my mother's a sociopath liar. And then my mother was like, "Oh, oh, no, no, that's not. We were looking at all kinds of clothes." That's the way my mother said it. All kinds of clothes. Okay. So my mother's a crazy nut job. She's abused me for years. And when I was a kid, there was like very little food in the house. My mother would spend money on clothes and pictures and paintings and stuff we did not need, chandeliers, and there was like almost no food in the fridge. The food that was in the fridge was like Oreos and sometimes some mac and cheese, and that was it. There was no home cooking. There was no home cooked meals, no hot meals, nothing. I made everything myself. I had to make my own mac and cheese. Actually, I had to put Oreos and milk myself. There was no home cooked meals, so I didn't know of a life that was better. I didn't know of anything better. So when I was a kid, I just thought this is what people eat, right? And then I went to my friend's house when I was about like 13, and my friend, his mother, all these home cooked meals, everything was healthy, no Oreos, no mac and cheese. And I'm like, "Oh my God, this is wonderful." Like, so my mother did work like two jobs. I'm not going to sit here and hate on my mother because I still love my mother. But at the same time, what I'm just trying to say is I didn't have it easy. I didn't grow up rich. So I was constantly going to school hungry, and I was still getting good marks in math and science because I was just naturally good at math and science. I was just naturally good. And then I was going to, like, one time I passed out in a math exam, but I still did really well in the math exam because I'm just naturally good in science. But I passed out in the math exam because I was really hungry and I didn't, my mother didn't have food in the house. And so my mother didn't have really food in the house. She tried to put a dress on me. My mother screamed at me several times when she blamed, her problems with her coworkers. My mother had so many problems with her coworkers. She would come home screaming at me when I was just a kid. My mother was very abusive. My mother hit me several times as well. It wasn't hard. I didn't have to go to the hospital, nothing like that, but she did hit me. And just being slapped, for no reason when you didn't do nothing wrong, just because you don't want to wear a dress, just because you don't like my mother had this, for example, my mother had this creepy uncle priest. Okay, there was this like they called him an uncle, but he wasn't actually related. He was just a priest. He was a Catholic priest, and he was a Catholic priest, and he was really creepy and really touchy and creepy. And uh uh no, I have to change the subject. I'm sorry. I can't. No, I'm gonna change the subject. Sorry. Um. So, so much has happened, and I probably sound when I'm talking right now, rambling. It's like I jumped from when I was a kid, then I jumped to my 20s, and I jumped to my 30s right now. Like, um, I know it sounds like I'm just rambling at this point, probably, but I've just been put through a lot of abuse, and I don't even. No, this isn't this. I gotta end the live stream. I'm sorry.